5, so I'm going to go live on YouTube. Okay, we are now live broadcasting another Tech Talks, and our topic today is course reviews. I think this one's going to be like a little loosey-goosey because we were trying to figure out how to structure this conversation. But I think with Angela Rasmussen's help and with Jared's help, I think we have something that will hopefully be useful to people. Okay, let me just pull up my notes here so I can remember what I was going to say. Okay, so we wanted to talk about how e-learning does course reviews, but we wanted to specifically talk about what is it, but also what is it not, because I think sometimes there's miscommunications and misunderstandings about how course reviews work and what they're for and what their purpose is. And we were hoping we could maybe shine some light on that a little bit and talk about why you might possibly want one from us and what the value that it might be able to provide for you. And then hopefully we can talk to one or two people about their own experiences having a course review done to hopefully, again, shine some light on it, make it less nebulous or less scary. So anyway, when we do an online course review, we hope that it is a way to receive structured, constructive feedback on your course design or on your assessment design or on any other specific areas of your teaching practice that you'd like to evaluate or improve, especially as it relates to Canvas, because that's the main thing that we have access to is if you want us to look at your Canvas course and look at all the parts of it and give some observations and feedback, we are happy to do that and we enjoy doing that. What are not course reviews? What course reviews are not? There you go. Yeah, course reviews from e-learning are not meant to be like punitive or adversarial or anything like that. So in the past, we have had people come to us that are like on tenure committees or something like that and say, we would like you to conduct a course review for so-and-so. When that happens, our response is, if they would like to ask us for a course review, we would love to work with that person. But we do not conduct course reviews on behalf of anyone else, and we don't share them with anyone else. So that's another big part of this. We never share our course observations with anyone but the instructor who has requested the course review. We don't send it to the chair, we don't send it to the dean, we don't send it to a committee, we don't send it to anybody. We see it, whichever instructional designer or designers are working on the course review, and the person who requested it sees it. No one else does. We don't even email a copy of it. We put it in Google Drive and we give that person access to it and no one else. We also don't share information about who has requested a course review. If a question like that was ever asked of us, I think our answer would probably be, we have conducted 5 course reviews this quarter. And that's about all the information we would provide. We wouldn't say, oh yeah, I'm doing one for so-and-so, or this person asked for one, or this person just completed one. We don't share that information, again, with anybody because, again, and I want to reemphasize this is meant to be a constructive and useful and hopefully helpful process. It is not part of anybody's adversarial relationship with anybody else, any organization or group on campus. So that's not what our course reviews are for. I think one of the advantages that e-learning has, and one of the value-added components that we can provide, is we see a lot of courses. We work with a lot of faculty on both campuses in many different departments, and I think that gives us a very broad perspective on how different people do things. So I think that's one question we often get from people is they're curious, how do other people approach this issue or deliver this kind of content or structure assignments for something like this? And I think that our perspective, working with many different people, gives us some value there that we can provide that you may not be able to get from other sources. Melanie, we were talking back and forth about this, trying to figure out how do we portray that as instructional designers, we have something we can offer to this process, but not make it sound like we're just tooting our own horns, right? Because we're not content area experts by any means. I'm not an expert in teaching English or teaching chemistry or any whatever your content area might be, right?
Yeah, so one of the, something we were talking about is I was considering, when I was, from the lens of being a geology instructor, before I was really clear on what an instructional designer does and who an instructional designer is, I think I may have, would have wanted to say, well, you don't have a geology background, how can you help my course? And so I guess I would love for you to kind of explain, you have, experience, training, and skill set that, the way you can look at a course is really different. I don't think that I would necessarily now seek out another science background person to look at my course. I would want to come to somebody like Caleb and Nick. And I guess if you don't mind just kind of clarifying some of that background or that experience you have that helps with that.
So I mean, Nick, what was your master's degree in?
Mine was in physical education with an emphasis in exercise physiology. So that's a very specific field, right?
So like we all have different areas of expertise that we came from. My master's is in the science of education, instruction, and learning. So it's very curriculum type focused. But I think broadly, a big part of our job is we do a lot of reading and a lot of research trying to stay current on best practices for accessibility, for example. We spend a lot of time diving into the technical details of those things because you don't have time to do that, but that's part of our job to gain expertise in things like that. We try to stay current on best practices and current research on things like student engagement, student motivation is one that you've been diving into lately. We do a lot of equity, diversity, and inclusion work in our office and partnering with other groups on both campuses. And I think that that's a big part of what we do is we try really hard to stay on top of those trends and those research and those innovations. And again, you're busy people, you have your content area that you focus on, and obviously you stay current on those things. I don't know anything about them, but we try to stay current on those issues. And I think that potentially that has a lot of value that you might be able to make use of.
Yeah, you have a real keen eye for course design, for communication, for understanding how students process information.
That, and also just like the nitty-gritty details of Canvas. We've seen almost every problem you can throw at us. And we've seen some really weird stuff in our time. And we can often help find workarounds or solutions or creative problem solving for whatever you're trying to accomplish in Canvas. We can hopefully help with that.
I do want to pause for a second. You mentioned problem solving. Like we were talking about kind of the purpose of course reviews and how we approach them. Like when we're initially consulting with a faculty member to start the course review process, then it usually surrounds some sort of problem. Like this thing is just not working well in my course. I just need another set of eyes on it. And that becomes that kind of collaboration as we build through whatever weird kind of student behavior you're seeing, or odd analytics are showing up, or wow, this just the success of this assignment versus this one, it's just not on the same playing field. It's just all sorts of different problems that you might be able to throw at us that we can kind of use in that course review process.
Absolutely. So that's probably a good segue into, I wanted to talk about what does that process actually look like step by step? What is the process from your perspective as an instructor of getting a course review? So the first thing is you contact us. Again, this is a one-to-one relationship. No one else is involved in this process. We don't approach people and say, hey, I think you could really use a course. We don't do that. That's not what this is about. But if, like Nick said, if there's something that you would like another set of eyes on, you contact us and say, I would like to have you do a course review for me. And then the first thing that we'll do is we'll usually schedule a one-on-one meeting, either in person or on Zoom, and sit down and talk about what would you like to accomplish with a course review? Which course would you like us to look at? Usually when I do it, I ask the instructor to give me a quick little tour of the class to kind of explain how they have it set up, what their goals are, what their objectives are. And then I say, is there anything specific that you would like me to focus in on? Maybe it's questions about the accessibility of my documents. Maybe it's student engagement. Maybe it's assignment design. Maybe it's the way your grades are set up. Whatever thing that you would especially like me to look at, I'll take some detailed notes and use that to do the course review.
And I do want to stop you for a moment.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of been going back and forth with Jennifer in the chat. I want to make sure that I clear something up, because it might sound like students are involved in this. I might kind of muddy the waters in one of my comments. This is just something that we IDs would be doing for a faculty member. There's no student involvement in this. It is not like a standard student evaluation or what other evaluations you might be doing in your department. Does that hopefully help, Jennifer? I think I might have made things more confusing in the chat. Okay, just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
we went forward.
Yeah, no, it's just us looking at your course and making observations and writing down some thoughts and some ideas to think about. So after that first preliminary meeting, then the instructional designer goes off and does their thing. Depending on how busy we are, what time the quarter is, it'll probably be 1 to 2 weeks before I get it finished. And then when I'm done, I usually end up with a 3 to 5 page document. I just wanted to quickly share my screen. I have an example of this with all of the relevant information blanked out, but at least you can kind of see the structure of what one of my course reviews look like. I'm just going to double check this really quick and make sure there are no names.
Always good to do those double checks.
Yep, we're good. Okay. So,
And that speaks to the anonymity of this. Once again, course reviews between us and whatever instructor we're working with. If we have your permission, we might bounce ideas off of the other IDs.
Yeah.
But it is purely for your records and for the collaboration that we might be doing.
so this is kind of what one of these course review documents looks like after it's finished. Course review for this person for this course done at this time. I reference some specific course design resources that we often rely on. One is the Washington Course Design Checklist, which is a super helpful course design rubric that's kind of, I think it's on version 4 now. Yeah, this is an old version. I have a new one now. Kind of loosely based on quality matters, but I feel it's somehow it's both more streamlined and more comprehensive than quality matters, in my opinion. So I really like it. We also use the Peralta Online Equity Rubric, which is a great set of guidelines for things like representation in your course content media. Are you trying to find links for those?
Yeah.
I can probably do that too. I got it here, Nick.
So much faster than me.
Well, I have it open.
Oh, well, okay. You win this time.
Yeah. So those are a couple of things that we use as resources when we're doing this. And then I can just kind of go through different areas of your course design, especially things that you've asked me to look at. Some of these will be more general observations that I make, and some of them are based on what the instructor has requested. And again, you can't see any text here because it's all blanked out, but this kind of gives you a sense of the amount of observations and ideas and resources that I'll share for each category. And yeah, this one's about 3 pages long. And in each one of these categories, I'll have some observations. I'll do my best to reference research or best practices that are evidence-based when we have them. I might say, some people do this and some people do that. There's different ways to approach this problem. I might share some other resources or tutorials or guides or articles that would be relevant for that particular observation. So hopefully, in addition to my own notes, you also have a lot of other external resources that you can look at and read and watch afterwards. So after I'm finished with that, I send it to you. Again, I usually do it as a Google document, and I have the permissions set so that you're the only person that can see it. And again, that ensures that nobody else is putting their eyes on this. And then after that's done, I would offer to schedule a follow-up meeting. And that's entirely up to the instructor, whether they want that or not. They might want to kind of have a debrief and talk about some things, anything that maybe I wasn't clear enough about, or they feel I got wrong, or they'd like to unpack a little bit Or if there's something actionable that they said, you know, this makes a lot of sense and I'd like to do this. Can you show me how? Happy to do that. But if you get your course review and you just want to sit on it for a while and reflect, that's totally fine. If you disagree with what the course review says, also completely fine, because again, this is 100% for your own use and your own eyes, and you don't have to do anything with it if you don't want to. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the process. Is there anything I'm missing in that?
No, I mean, it's just a theme of consultation and collaboration, to use alliteration for that.
Yeah,
That's just kind of the process.
good. So another thing we wanted to make clear, course reviews for e-learning are not an observation shared with your tenure or review committee. If that's part of your process, I know that there is a classroom observation component of that. This is not that. Again, not connected to that at all. But it can be valuable to mention your course review experience with your evaluation committee. If you're up for tenure, if you're up for 5-year review, if you're an adjunct up for evaluation, those committees like to see evidence of continuous improvement and reflective teaching practice. And I think by talking to your eval committee about your experience getting a course design, how you reflected on it, what you did with that experience, can be a nice thing to include in that conversation with your committee. Something that Angela recommends or suggests when we were talking to her is this idea of writing up a little brag sheet for yourself, which is kind of like a bulleted point list of, these are my achievements in the last year or the last quarter. I attended this conference and gave a presentation. I volunteered on this committee. I did this, I published that. I worked with e-learning on this project. And it's important for you to keep a record of those things and to make sure that you're communicating those achievements with your committee so that they can include that in their final report. Am I getting that about right, Angela? Am I missing anything there? Thumbs up, good enough for me. I did want to leave some time to ask Angela Smith if you would be willing to talk a little bit about your experience, because we did a course review over the summer, and I hope it was helpful to you, but I'd love to hear your opinion on that, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was really helpful to do the course review. So what I did was I thought about like what class I wanted to have looked at, and I chose intercultural communication because I teach that now online and also as a hybrid course. So it was really important to have that. It was really important to do that. And the main things that I got that whole sheet back from the Google Doc, and it was really nice because it highlighted some things that I could work on. And also you gave great feedback because you also tell us what we're doing well. So that was really nice. And what I did was I put squares next to each thing so that I can like check off like, okay, I've edited, changed this, you know, for my homepage, for example. I wanted to put in more presence, more myself in there and video and so on. And then also I learned that I want to change my point values just because they were a little bit off and they weren't making a lot of sense. So it was great to get that feedback and have someone have a bird's eye view on my course. And just also know some of the good things that I'm doing and the things that I'm doing correctly and feel good about and solid. And also I learned that I could design some assignments in a different way. So I talked through some assignments with Caleb after my course review and got some ideas about how to incorporate, you know, just different ideas on the same assignments that I was doing that would make it so that it was more like that universal design learning for students. So maybe giving a video option as a submission option and how to do that in Canvas along with written submissions. So it was really helpful. I encourage everybody to do it. It's great. Super helpful. I'm going to continue to do it. And now I work a lot with Caleb on the fast track class as well, just to get some great feedback.
Yeah. Thank you, Angela. I really appreciate it.
Nortel call pilot. Mailbox.
Oh, is that Jerry checking? Oh, and then he's gone. Sorry, Jerry. Yeah, Angela, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate hearing that, and hopefully that makes this seem a little less scary. Because again, it's not, as instructional designers, it's not our job to tell you you're doing something wrong and this is the right way to do it. That's, first of all, that's rarely actually true, because it's usually the case that there are different ways to do something that might make more sense in different circumstances and different contexts. But what we can provide is a little bit of that context, that perspective of, well, there's one way, and then there's another way, and then there's a third way, and they have pros and cons. And it's sometimes worth it to just to reflect on those things and get an outside opinion and an outside perspective on those. Well, I got through my notes. That's everything that I had written down. Is there anything, I'm wondering if anybody has any questions, or Angela and Jared, did I miss anything from a TLC type perspective that maybe would like to mention? Thanks for coming, Rick. Or Craig, sorry.
I don't think so. I think, thanks. This is a great opportunity. I'm so glad you all are offering this. And it looks like we already have our first taker.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. I'll look forward to one of us. And again, pick whoever you're most comfortable working with. If you've worked with one of us before and you like our vibe, go with that. If you don't like our vibe, try somebody else. Yeah. Because we all have our own personalities and our own perspectives, but I think no matter who you picked, it would be a good, hopefully a worthwhile and constructive experience.
Maybe to preface that with, and if you give us permission, we will talk about it with the other IDs just to make sure that we're not working in a silo.
Yeah.
That's our preferred anyways, but once again, that's up to the instructor who's asking for the course review and what your goals are.
Yeah, that's the main thing about this is I think we try really hard to make sure that it is serving your needs and accomplishing what you are trying to accomplish and addressing what you're trying to get out of it. So again, that's part of that conversation of what would you really like some eyes on? What is something that you're frustrated with, or you feel could be better, or you just want to try something new and experiment with something? Those are the kinds of things that we love to talk about and love to look at and think about.
Yeah, I wanted to mention too that it's great because you have eyes on your work that look at, equity, like, is it accessible? What can you do to make sure that it's, easy that all students can access it? And then also the feedback is just so great. I have it it's been on my desk ever since I got it with the feedback, because then you can, what you're doing and what you can continue to do, and also how you can improve. And that is just super helpful. So.
Thank you. Well, I guess this one's a quick one. We made it through our content, and I think we covered everything we wanted to cover. And again, I think just the goal was shine a little bit of light on what that process is. Hopefully, if there were some misconceptions about it, clear that up a little bit. And again, encourage people, if this seems like something you might feel like you benefit from, shoot us an email, send us a phone call, catch us in the hall, stay behind after a meeting, and we're happy to connect with you about that. Well, this is the last Tech Talk of 2022.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
It is. Yep.
We're almost there.
Time flies.
I think this is like our 53rd Tech Talk, which is wild. So we've done a lot of these. So we'll be back in January. So keep an eye out for a newsletter next year, and we will see you all later. But we're on the clock over most of that break in between quarters, other than taking some time off around the holidays. So, but we're on contract. So now is a good time to work with us if you want to. If you have something you like to get done before winter quarter starts, shoot us an email.
I know I've got 2 course reviews I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
It's kind of how it goes.
If we don't see you until next year, have a great holiday, a great break, a great new year, and we'll see you soon.
And for those that have any more questions, we'll stay on. I saw some stuff in the chat that I want to make sure we addressed. Bye if you need to go. So Jennifer, to answer your question, what accessibility lens is